Hello everyone, I'm Nixotica, and I wanted to show you today a little bit of a tutorial on the first Zerator map, Aime, or I don't speak French, but anyway, I'm an American, so anyway, let's get into this. Alright, so here we are in the map. This is the first map of the Zerator Cup of 2021, and I wanted to show you this because there are many things you can do to improve your time and become more consistent on this map that I think many people probably don't know about or haven't gotten consistent at because they don't know the strategy for it. So I wanted to show you that today, so let's get right into it. Alright, so first we have here is section 1. This is that section that goes through the llamas in the start, and there actually is quite a bit of time save that you can get in this section right here. So I'm just going to show a comparison between my personal best, which is about top 30 in the world, versus a standard line that might not know this strategy. So let's get into this. So as you can see right here, this line gets you quite far behind an optimal line. So what happened was, as you can see, the guide here that we're taking a look at right now, the slow version, takes this turn much later than my personal best. So let's see what happens. You actually get the gear, going into the gear, you actually get a really bad turn there, and that doesn't help you keep speed. So when you're on dirt, you want to make sure that you're turning as little as possible. So when we get here, if we follow my PV here, turn as early as possible so that you can have a much smoother turn here. Notice as when I gear up, I let go of holding forward there. And there you go. So you want to do that smooth steering technique, and that will actually save you quite a bit of time on just this first section of the map. So watch this again once more, going in normal speed. That is the slower line, and compare that to the faster line. And there you go, there you have it. Now that's a way to get better speed out of the first section. Alright, now, so coming into section 2, we have the pipe ride that comes right after it on the Plasic. So this actually has a bit of a technique that many people probably haven't realized why they're slowing down, maybe. So what happens is if you are not, if you get the gear while you're going up this half pipe, you're actually going to slow down quite a bit. So what you want to do to prevent that is turn a little bit so that you're sliding as you approach this wall ride. So let's watch it from the guide's perspective first. You can see that I had, or you can hear it a little bit, I guess, that I got that gear transition in the uphill going into this half pipe. But if you watch here, this is probably a little bit better way to do it. Let's see. You want to start drifting a little bit. You don't have to tap brake, but you just want to be turning enough so that your car is not sticking completely to the Plasic, and that will get you both a better angle for this jump, and also will make sure that you're staying in the right gear and you don't get a random slowdown. You also want to exit a little bit lower than where this cutoff is for the tilted part of the slope, because even though it might seem like you're going to, you know, if you're going this way, you're going to fly up and hit the side right here, that is actually not going to happen, because so long as your right wheels are here and touching this flat part, that'll make sure that you're not going to exit and hit the side there. So my guide right here, the slower version, is going a little bit too high for this, whereas this one goes low enough to where you can see I'm able to clear this gap and also get the gear going in through this section. Alright, so moving on to section 3, we have the pipe ride. This entire part is quite a difficult section, I would say. So when you go through here, you're going to want to take it very risky if you're doing in time attack, but there actually are some decent strategies to consistently get this fast, even if you're doing it in match. So let's watch from the guide's perspective right here. So the average player might slowly try to round these corners, make sure you're not hitting anything, make sure you're not falling off. This is completely fine, totally viable route, but it is going to lose you a lot of time, as you can see, compared to my time up there ahead. So let's take a look at what I did up there. So coming from this perspective, I actually recommend that you go into camera 3, that's the internal camera, for the entirety of this section, starting about right here. So if you don't have that bound, I highly recommend that you bind that to your controller, because doing an internal cam here is going to be super, super helpful. In fact, I will go to the internal cam just to show you. So what you're going to want to think of is start dipping into this turn as soon as you get into the red. So you see, I kind of throw myself off here, and you're going to, because of the curvature of this, get kind of dragged back up. So you're going to want to hold down, keep yourself in this curve a little bit. And it's fine. You notice I actually kind of didn't do this perfectly, so you're getting dragged back up, back on the black section right there. But luckily, since we aren't with the water effects on this part, it's not going to make you slip off the plastic. So you don't have to worry too much. If you start to see yourself coming back out of it on the top, then you just want to slow down and continue to turn hard right. The only thing you can't undo is if you go too deep here in this red section. If you dip down below right here, you're probably going to get flung down into the water, and there's no way to negate that, or no actions once you've gone too far down. So really, you just want to get comfortable going deeper and deeper into this banking, and really practice that a lot, maybe even respawn at the checkpoint beforehand. And yeah, it's pretty easy to get good at this section. And it'll really give you an advantage, because as you can see, there's a lot of time that can be saved in this section. So we'll watch right here, go up here. What I do right here is I don't even worry about this part right here, because if you hit this part, this what do we want to call this, a string or whatever, holding up the hot air balloon, you're already too far to the left. So what you want to do is dive a little bit. And I'm still using the internal camera here, but we're going to look at the external just for the sake of being able to see what goes on here. You want to dive as soon as you're kind of coming off of this white section, going into the left, same exact line as the red. The problem is you're now coming up, so if you have enough speed coming out of that pass section, you're actually going to have the front wheels kind of lifted up a little bit, as you can see right here. But that's fine, because then you can just take a bit of a dive, do the exact same line on the opposite side as the red. So go right there, inside, and boom. Perfect. So this is actually going to be rotating, and it doesn't show it here, but what you want to do is enter it at least about the middle. I'm a little bit too far left in this replay, I recognize that, but if you have enough speed, this isn't going to do much damage to you. In fact, the more speed you have, the easier this, getting over this rotating pipe, is going to be. So I highly recommend keep as much speed out of the second one. You can even safe this first one if you want, if you're not that consistent at it. But getting as much speed out of this second turn on the left here is highly recommended, because you're going to want to keep as much speed going over this as possible. The longer time you spend on this, the higher the chances are you're going to get flung off. Anyway, so if you do start to get flung off, that's fine, because you can start to set yourself up with a little bit of a wiggle to try to jump off here. So in the guide, you saw that we climbed up here and did the safe route. But actually, so long as you don't get an acceleration penalty from the landing up here, you can do this instead. Do a bit of a jump, and I landed on my side, so I actually lost speed. I didn't keep full traction, so that lost me a lot of speed, but that's completely fine, because I'll show you in section 4 when we go into this section, as long as you don't have acceleration penalty, you're going to be completely fine. So you just want to be able to make this jump. So what I recommend is, if I can get the camera to look correctly. So at this point, you should probably be back in your main camera, whether that's camera 1, 2, or 3. I recommend camera 2, maybe even camera 1 if you're comfortable with it. It's not my preferred camera, but that might actually be the best one in this instance. You're going to want to start jumping off, depending on your speed, at either the white or the green. The green is going to be a little bit high, so I recommend you at least jump off or start turning to the left to get off of this pipe once you get to this line between the white and the green. Because you can see I easily made it there. You can jump off even earlier, but at a certain point it doesn't really matter, especially in rounds mode. If you're going for time attack, jump as early as possible. In rounds, in the actual competition, just be safe, jump off the pipe, don't flip your car. Best way to not flip your car is to jump off this side here and immediately air brake. As you can see, I didn't do that. Well, that's because the air brake does slow you down a little bit, and it's really just for your safety if you want to do that. But if you brake a little bit too early, you're going to get some of the traction on here, and that's not going to be good. So really, I recommend you brake right around here. And don't worry about flinging your wheels to the right as soon as you come off. You might think, oh, I need to counter steer here when I jump off of this. That's not going to help. You're going to have what happens here, where I actually land and hit the side of my wheels, and I'm not keeping the traction. That lost me about 0.3 to 0.5 of a second. That's not good. Anyway, so that's section 3, really long section. It's going to take a lot of time to master that one probably if you're a new player. But really just take any combination of those little techniques and it'll get you through the section quicker, and hopefully if you practice them, you'll get more consistent. Moving on to section number 4, we actually have a really small one right here. This is just the second pipe, which is much shorter, much less complex, but actually has a lot harder, in my opinion, technique to master. So let's take a look from the guide's perspective. Here's the safe way to do it, which is going to lose you a ton of time. So the kind of intended safe route is just to take this entire pipe, relax, and go through the legs here. And it's a very tight section, so I don't blame you if you're going to take that slowly. However, there's one thing you can do. In time attack, you could do a full risk here, as I'll show in my replay, but you could take a combination between these two replays if you want in the actual rounds. So let's go to my player. So assuming you didn't get Excel penalty in that last part from the landing, you'll be able to make this. Assuming you took the risk of jumping off to the side and you didn't go over the full pipe, you'll have enough speed to make this. So watch right here. You want to land in the middle of this pipe. So this is not that hard to aim for. Really what you want to aim for is look at the red right here. You want to aim your car so that you're going straight down the center of this blimp or hot air balloon. Right between these two lines, if you can see those. So this is not too hard so long as you're not on keyboard. If you have a controller, which personally I play on controller, as you can see from the bottom right there. So if you play on controller, this is not going to be too hard. You can just line up with that. Whether you're far onto the left or the right coming off of this, that gives you a good visual indicator. You also want to air brake right here as soon as you're flat, because if you land facing back or forward, you're going to start bouncing around and it becomes really hard to line up to go between these llama's legs. So ideally you land, and then you're going to want to stay just a little bit to the right here, just a little bit. So if I can go into the internal camera here, as you can see, the llama's legs are a little bit to the right. You don't want to be on the center. So if you're coming from the left, which is where you should land if you just did the previous jump, you're going to actually land a little bit on the right when you try to land on that top center part. And you can either full speed, as I did in this replay, through the llama's legs, or you can slow down and just make sure you get through there without hitting anything. If you hit any of these legs, you can possibly still make it through, but it's still gonna be less time save than if you just make the landing, slow down, then continue through without hitting anything. But be a little bit to the right here, and once you make it through, just do the little bit of turning left and you'll be able to make it through here. And there you go, that's section number 4. Really short, really difficult, but the techniques are not that hard to memorize. You just want to hit the middle of that blimp and make sure you stand a little bit to the right on that pipe as you go through the llama's legs. Moving on to section number 5. I've actually not seen too many people doing this, and this was the hardest one personally for me to get good at. So this is the entire ending section as we get on to the plastic. So I'm just going to show you and let this speak for itself first. So a usual player might slow down, try to do a turnaround. You're going to be holding brake and accelerate at the same time so you can get a nice turning radius. Come up here, and there you go. You turn, make it through these umbrellas in the middle, and perfectly fine. However, you might notice you are very far behind, maybe 2 seconds behind one of the fastest routes you can do. So let's go back here and take a look. So what is the fastest route here? Personally, what I found, and I'm not sure how many other people are doing this, but I found this to be pretty consistent, is you want to get to here, stop accelerating as soon as you get onto here. Don't brake yet, but stop accelerating. Take your hand off of it and just line up. You're going to want to get to the right a little bit. Okay, you see me go to the right, and I do that very, very sharply because you're going to go into a drift here, right? I start drifting, I start braking without accelerating at about when I get onto the red. And this does consistently work if you have this speed. You know, the usual speed of if you did full speed through the last section and you landed without touching anything. So you're going to want to come through here, hold this. Now you're going to start accelerating and braking at the same time. And hopefully you should be able to stay in the gear and not stall out your car. It is very, very, very easy in this technique to stall out your car. That'll end up losing you a little bit of time, and it'll be about equal with the safe route. So as long as you don't get too overzealous with this, this is definitely the hardest technique there is here in the whole map, at least in my opinion, because it is very, very easy to brake a little bit too early or a little bit too late, and you'll either hit this blue, and because of the plastic, you'll bounce right off behind here, and you won't be able to finish, or you're gonna go flying off here. So if you don't want to use this line, perfectly fine. There's a later line in this section that is going to save you a bunch of time anyway. That's a little bit less risky, in my opinion. So you're going to do this on the first one. You're going to hold accelerate and do a bit of a bug slide around here, and you should be able to line your car back up. Same thing here. That was a little weak because it's a different speed, and really you can even just do the normal line here if you want, where you just come up, turn, and you go up. Now, this is different. This one is very unintuitive, at least it is in my opinion. You're going to feather your acceleration if you want to make this jump, because if you accelerate too much, you're going to get a gear up, you're going to be at the bottom of the next highest gear, and you're not going to have enough of that drive to get over this jump, especially because you need to turn. So what I do personally is I feather, look at the top right here, I feather this and listen to see that I'm not getting into the next gear. You don't want to get a gear up here. So you heard that little tap, tap, tap. Well, you couldn't really hear it, but that's kind of, if you hear the engine, you can hear that it's kind of starting and going, starting and going. That's what you want to do if you want to make this jump. And you'll aim for about the red here, and you have grip, so it's not that hard. So you're going to get up here, feather, and you'll easily be able to make this jump. It's fine if you have a little bit of extra speed. You're just going to aim for just right of this. You'll be able to see this. So, make this landing, feather the acceleration, aim right of this umbrella, and you have a lot of room here. You can either go to the right or left of this umbrella. Completely fine either way. The fastest line is to the left, but if you just make your landing and you want to continue, the acceleration on plastic is good enough to where it's fine if you completely stall out your car here and then continue going, if you want to be a little bit safer. So anyway, you go through here and make it through the umbrellas, and there you go. So all together now, I will show you what a full run looks like. Thanks for watching.